us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the power's even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the business is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds for deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They can be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folks try to ignore us.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. I also want to make sure that you all are aware of a new campaign that we launched here at KBLA Talk 1580. We're calling it Fired But Not Forgotten, the Testimony Project. Fired But Not Forgotten. We are rooted in the Black tradition of testimony, and we know that there are too many of our fellow Americans who have lost their jobs. And so we want to tell your story. We want to amplify your story. You can share it with us on or off the record, meaning you can share your story with us and opt to share that anonymously. Just go ahead and contact us via email at info@Smiley Audio Media. That's info@SmileyAudiomedia.com. Info@SmileyAudiomedia.com. You can also download the KBLA app and use the open mic feature to tell us your story and send it to us that way. But we know that your work is consequential, that your work matters to our country, to our community. And we want to make sure that your stories, that your work is not erased from the record. And so Fired But Not Forgotten, the Testimony Project. We've launched this and we're all on board to ensure that we are amplifying your stories and doing some investigative storytelling. That is what our commitment is, because if you don't document, if you don't tell these stories in one form or another, people would make it appear as if you didn't exist. And we are not about that life around here. All right, it's time for your National News Roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Certainly, this next story, as reported by USA Today, caught my attention because I have family members with autism. I also have lost a family member, lost my brother. He died by suicide. And so when I saw this story, it really stopped me cold. The headline reads, this teen tried hiding his autism. His parents think it drove him to suicide. Neil and Samara Trikarkiko first noticed that their son, Anthony, was different when he was about 3 years old. The Southern California couple discovered that Anthony, then a toddler, had pulled a chunk of his own hair out while they were away. And alarmed, they sought help from professionals, and Anthony was diagnosed with anxiety at age 4. At 7, he was diagnosed with high-functioning autism spectrum disorder, and the diagnosis brought relief. And for a while, Anthony seemed to thrive. He became a stellar student, earning a 4.6 GPA, and often set the curve in his advanced placement classes. Mental health professionals warned that he might have problems socializing, but luckily that didn't seem to be the case. And at 16, Anthony had plenty of friends and enjoyed hosting parties and poker nights. He threw himself into health and fitness, participating in Spartan races and marathons. However, Anthony's mental health took a nosedive during the pandemic. You see, he confided in his best friend that he felt suicidal. And that friend told his mom, who told Neil and Samara. They got Anthony help, but knew he was still struggling. And one night, Anthony said he was going for a walk shortly after his parents heard the sirens. Youth suicide has been on the rise in recent years, and for kids with autism, it's even more common. Did you know that? Because I certainly didn't know that. According to a 2023 study from the University of Pittsburgh, autistic children and teens have about a 5% higher rate of suicidal ideation and are twice as likely to attempt suicide than their non-autistic peers. And for kids who are autistic and highly intelligent, a group called Twice Exceptional, the risk is even higher. A 2023 study from the University of Iowa found that kids with autism and high IQs were nearly 6 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts than non-autistic kids. And so I thought fitting to share this with each and every one of you. Certainly, if you see something, say something. But we are a community of leaders, learners, and listeners. And as I learned a lot from this particular article, I saw fit to share it with you. And please, by all means, y'all be sure to pass it along. In other news, the Los Angeles Times is reporting that transgender Americans are weighing leaving the U.S. over Trump's policies, while some, well, they already have. Alexia Nunez presumed that things are going to be pretty bad for transgender people under President Trump, given the campaign rhetoric, but had decided to stick it out in the U.S. as long as possible. And her breaking point came just days after Trump's inauguration. She said when Secretary of State Marco Rubio ordered the suspension of passport applications seeking a gender marker different from an applicant's birth sex. Nunez, who's a 46-year-old software engineer originally from San Diego, called the directive the, quotes, definition of discrimination against a marginalized community and a direct threat to her safety as a transgender woman. Although her passport has reflected her female identity since 2016, it expires next year. You see, suddenly she feared renewing it would leave her without travel documents that matched her identity and appearance, and without a means of fleeing the country if things in the U.S. grew increasingly hostile. Transgender Americans and their families are reaching similar conclusions across the country amid numerous anti-trans policies from the Trump administration. They include directives to defund or even criminalize gender-affirming medical care, punish teachers who support gender nonconforming kids at school, and ban transgender people from bathrooms and sports teams, and cast doubt not only on their legal documents, but their very existence. And finally, the Justice Department has launched an investigation into allegations of anti-Semitism at the University of California. The U.S. Department of Justice announced just today that it was launching a civil rights investigation into allegations of anti-Semitism at the University of California, saying its attorneys believe that there is, quote, a potential pattern of discrimination against Jewish employees at the state's flagship higher education system. The investigation would determine whether UC's, quotes, engage in a pattern or practice of discrimination based on race, religion, and national origin against its professors, against its staff, and other employees by allowing an anti-Semitic hostile work environment to exist on its campus. Reports of anti-Semitism have grown across the UC system since the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. This is October 7th, 2023, that Hamas attack on Israel and Israel's war on Gaza. The department's decision did not cite specific incidents at UC campuses and did not single out campuses aside from brief mentions of UCLA. So it seems to be a bit of a fishing expedition, as, again, they're not citing any specific incidents at a UC campus. And so, see something, say something. But they're not even saying what they've seen that has triggered this pattern and practice investigation. We'll definitely keep our eyes on that. When we come forward, I'll be joined with Dr. Sabine Charles. She's a best-selling author. She's a renowned public speaker, and she's a professional certification exam tutor, and she is announcing a new development. There's this Leadership MEQ. It's mindset, emotional intelligence, and leadership qualities. I think today is a pretty good day for us to get a little bit smarter when it comes to examining our own leadership qualities and the leadership qualities of the people who represent us. There's no time like the present to do this. When we come forward, Dr. Sabine Charles joins us right here on A More Perfect Union. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Who cares about the Black community in Altadena? We do. On Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m., it's the premiere of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This new weekly show will explore the deep roots and resilience of Altadena's Black community as we track its recovery and reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr, every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th, with an encore presentation, Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Your booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson on fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte. I'm really delighted to welcome Dr. Sabine Charles of Leadership MEQ. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Dr. Charles is, of course, a best-selling author, renowned public speaker, professional certification exam tutor. Hello. And is here to announce the new developments in her Leadership MEQ program. MEQ stands for Mindset, Emotional Intelligence, and Leadership Qualities. Before we get to that, Dr. Charles, I want to get your hot take on the latest sort of demonstrations of public leadership that we're seeing. This is a day after President Trump's address to Congress, to a joint session of Congress. We certainly have seen folks across the political spectrum sort of respond to that. Politics aside, give us a sense of the state of leadership, particularly public leadership in this country.
Well, I created this program in 2000 during the pandemic time. I don't even remember the years, or 2021. And Leadership MEQ is really to work from the inside out. At the end of the day, we need to, each of us, build that leadership voice. And that leadership voice doesn't mean to be on top of the spectrum, but being a leader in what you do. So the state of leadership after COVID has shifted because a lot of times people are not learning by observation because of these type of Zoom meetings and not interacting or not meeting next to the water cooler type thing. Now, with Leadership MEQ, not only you have a hybrid component to it, where it's an online training program, but you also have that human element where you have a coach with you for 3 sessions. We evaluate your EQ levels and determine which areas you would like to work on. So it's so important right now to actually work on these individual skills, because that is important, as you see.
And so, certainly right now in this moment, when it comes to compassion, and I'm thinking about a study that Muhammad Ali's widow, Mrs. Lonnie Ali, recently joined us to talk about. She was saying that there's a lot of room to grow in terms of our fellow Americans, sort of growing that compassion muscle across the country. Talk to us about the relationship between compassion and MEQ, mindset, emotional intelligence, and leadership qualities.
Now, compassion, this is interesting because it has to really be rooted into your core values and how you've been. It's just what you believe is important to you. And Leadership MEQ, again, focuses on getting that individual past through the normal, really saying we are part of a bigger message. This society is very I, individual. And with Leadership MEQ, you're not only thinking about, yes, self-awareness, having that self-awareness, but you're using that emotional intelligence so that you can understand how that other person is receiving the information, and even helps you figure out how to provide that information to the person across the aisle. So that is why it's so important, especially nowadays. With the new technologies, with AI, with all of those things that we're just really not having that human element in the equation, this is the moment for us to reevaluate the importance of that person in conversations.
Yeah, and just to connect the dots for our leaders, learners, and listeners, I think, very high level, part of what I've discerned from your work is that anybody that's in the business of furthering humanity, whatever way that looks like for you. For some people, they're in elected office. For some people, they're leading small businesses. They're leading corporations. Other people are just leading in innovation in so many different ways, but there's got to be some alignment between mindset, emotional intelligence, and your leadership qualities. That's a part of sort of the secret sauce that I glean from your work.
And that's the combination. People tend to think that you just have to work on one thing and one thing only. And our lives are not just one semester. It's not a linear type thing. So understanding that, yes, your mindset is number one. The way you approach things is so critical, because with that momentum actually takes place. Then once you're self-aware, you figure out you have the emotional safety, you have health, you have mental health as well. Then you can move forward and start adding value to society.
Yeah, yeah. And so for the people who are less familiar, I mean, I remember studying emotional intelligence, in graduate school.
Mhm.
But for folks who are less familiar, let's define our terms. What do you mean by emotional intelligence?
Mhm. Well, my dissertation was based on Goldman's philosophy. He was a scholar. He's still alive. He's still doing podcasts and courses. And what he said is that for people to be successful, you don't necessarily have to have the technical skills, but also this emotional intelligent quotient. And at first, he had 5 components, but then he refined it and came up with really 4 main components: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So those things are, again, self-awareness, that self-expand, just being aware of how you feel, management, your reaction time, social awareness, depending on what situation you're in, the tone, the delivery of the message may have to change. And then relationship management is building relationships across while you work, while you play, and while you love.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, there are a lot of folks that will encourage people to read the room.
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever been in a situation where, someone on your team or someone that says the thing that maybe needs to be said, but maybe they don't say it in the right way, or maybe, they say it before the wrong group of people. That's an everyday sort of example of how people who may have low EQ, low emotional intelligence, they might make those mistakes, but they don't have to. They don't have to, especially if they lean in to this Leadership MEQ program, Leadership Mindset, Emotional Intelligence, and Leadership Quality program developed by Dr. Charles. When we come forward, we're going to dig more into her program, and we're going to look for ways to get a little bit of a tune-up. I'm going to ask her for some quick tips that may help us to get a tune-up when it comes to our own emotional intelligence and leadership qualities in these turbulent times. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Trump administration is investigating a Seattle area school district for letting a transgender girl play in a girls' basketball game. The complaint, filed by a conservative group opposing anti-racism and diversity programs, claims a 15-year-old sat out over safety concerns. Wall Street is closing with stocks higher after back-to-back losses earlier this week. Investors gained optimism around tariffs after President Trump said there will be makers. Target dropped DEI efforts in January, sparking backlash. Now, Black Atlanta pastor Jamal Bryant is leading a 40-day boycott, planning to meet with Target's board on April 17th. And with New York City's primary 3 months away, Black Mayor Eric Adams' approval has hit a record low. A Quinnipiac poll shows 67% disapprove, 56% say he should resign, and Andrew Cuomo leads him 31% to 11% among Democrats. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Tough rolling through Irvine with a wreck on the 5 northbound past Jeffrey. It's out of lanes, but that drive is tough away from Alton Parkway. North Hollywood, 170 northbound past Sherman Way. Carpool lanes blocked due to this crash. Delays away from Oxnard Street and in the Cajon Pass. Another crash 15 northbound before Oak Hill. Everyone's in the center divider, but the drive is a mess off that 215 merge.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another win for the Lakers, another milestone for LeBron. The Lakers extended their winning streak to 7 games after their 136-115 win over New Orleans at Crypto.com. First 7-game winning streak for the Lakers since February 12, 2021. As for LeBron, he became the first NBA player to score a combined 50,000 points in the regular season and playoffs. The 22-year veteran passed the 50,000 mark on his first shot, a three-pointer with 8 minutes left in the first quarter. LeBron finished with 34 points. He now has 41,871 in the regular season and 8,162 in the playoffs. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Put this man in the Hall of Fame right now. The Clippers have lost 3 straight. They had a 19-point lead in Phoenix at the start of the fourth quarter and couldn't hold it. Phoenix fought back to pull out a 119-117 win. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me.
National news of consequence, informed opinion,
and analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm delighted to welcome my colleague, Dr. Sabine Charles, to the show. She is a best-selling author, a renowned public speaker, a professional certification exam tutor, and has announced the new developments in this leadership assessment. It's called Leadership MEQ. Leadership MEQ. MEQ standing for Mindset, Emotional Intelligence, and Leadership Qualities. Dr. Charles, I've got to ask you, late last year, I saw an article published by Fast Company on emotional intelligence saying that it was so 2020. And I know when we started our conversation, you were talking about some of the research work that you had done during the pandemic. But this Fast Company article talked about how leaders needed to take these 2 steps in 2025, check and adjust, to allow emotionally mature leaders to slow down and ultimately move faster. What say you? We know that following the pandemic, following what was a very contentious election, there is reason to believe that we're living in an increasingly fragmented world. According to the 2023 Ernst & Young Empathy and Business Survey, 86% of employees believe that empathetic leaders boost morale. 87% say empathy is essential to fostering an inclusive environment. But Gallup, in their report, says that there's dismal employee engagement across the globe, with organizations scoring about 23%.
Since the pandemic, we have lost the ability to interact well with each other. We think about this. We put people in prisons in isolation when we want them to break down. And guess what we did to ourselves? We put ourselves in prison in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you think it was right or wrong, by self-isolating causes people to have a lot of mental breakdown. And with that mental breakdown, that self-awareness, that self-regulation, you just unlearn it. It becomes survival. And so now we're out in the workplace with trauma, because think about it. You put people in isolation in jail, they're traumatized, they act right.
And so here we are in a post-pandemic world, where we are being sort of forced back into the office.
Correct.
And quite frankly, a lot of folks are acting like we didn't just have that experience, that once in 100-year sort of pandemic experience that had us in this kind of isolation, that you draw parallels to the kind of isolation that people experience sometimes in prison. But when it comes to, leading differently, when it comes to managing teams a little bit differently, there are folks who either don't have the skills or their skill set is rusty. And so I want to give you an opportunity to offer us a little bit of a tune-up. All of our leaders, learners, and listeners out there, that may be thinking about enrolling in your program, based upon folks who have enrolled and who have participated, what tips can you offer us to sort of tune up how we lead in our communities, how we lead in our organizations?
The first thing I would say is to manage your energy.
Amen.
Energy management is key. Time management, it kind of falls into that category. Understanding that you cannot do everything all at once. That capacity that we're thinking, now is yesterday type of thing. We need to slow down, because by slowing down, we could actually go further. So one of the things I would recommend is actually journaling or doing meditation. We need to rebalance ourselves. We are in a society where we have our life on the phone, and when that thing is not on or away from us or broken, we panic. So again, adjusting our reality and understanding that what is may not be what is. So that's number one. Number two, that's self-regulation. Everyone is so reactive. We react to everything. We're upset, so we need to take a step back. You've seen a lot of these things on TikTok, or we all watch them, where people just lose their minds. It's funny, but it's a little scary, because we're seeing that happen more and more. We don't even have to go. I live in New York City. I go on the subway and I see people losing their minds every day, more so than before.
Mm-hmm.
So taking that deep breath and pausing before reacting or speaking can really help deal with consequences that could happen because you're just using your personal instincts. Now, in terms of motivation, we have to set goals for ourselves. Positive thinking, again, that mindset piece, and setting goals that align with our values. And I mentioned that earlier when you asked me a question. Because behind everything, and in this leadership, I have this wheel that I have, which is for Leadership MEQ. And around it, it's your values, innovation, and self-reflection. That is basically what spins the whole wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding other people's emotions. Now that's kind of tricky because everyone wants to be right. And active listening, sometimes it's better to be quiet and listen than to argue. Because that gives you a perspective. You may not, what are they talking about? Because there's a lot of what are we talking about happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right on that. I oftentimes say, do you want to be right or do you want to be heard? After being married for almost 10 years.
I've been married for 15 years. So yes.
Okay. So you understand, you're picking up what I'm putting down. At some point you recognize that a lot of the arguments that we may have that are healthy, that oftentimes they're not about what you think they're about.
And you know what? And people are traumatized, and their reaction may have nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. So you could be speaking in the right tone of voice, doing whatever you need to do, but the person in front of you is completely not there.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes there are people out there, sometimes in our own families, who may not be speaking with you. They may not be talking to you, right? And that may not have anything to do with you, right? It may have everything to do with how they're processing something, with, something that may have happened between them and somebody else, and you're just, in the line of fire, right? And so, I think Tabitha Brown talks about this, minding your business, right? And she's very clear what's her business and what's not her business. And I think sometimes we invest a bit too much in other people's business, and then we wonder why we feel that drain in energy. We wonder why our calendar has been turned upside down. Wait a minute. I didn't expect, to have a 90-minute conversation with somebody about something that's not even my business.
And so I wanted to actually add that a lot of times we get feedback. And feedback is not positive or negative. It's just information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to start thinking about feedback, because I started in corporate America, and a lot of people didn't look like me. I was in investment banking. A lot of people didn't look like me. I was in a male dominant area doing investigations and audits a lot on the international level in Brazil and Panama. Okay. So people give you feedback. Well, you just should be happy where you are, or you don't need this certification, or do you really want that promotion? So if you take that as positive or negative, then you're completely going to go left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's information. So you listen, may not necessarily talk. That's active listening. And then you have to start here in your heart to really figure out what's being really said.
Mm-hmm.
And should that shift my behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Leadership MEQ is about. It's thinking and having you sit back and listen. In silence, the answer is there, and it's loud. So you start figuring out who you are and your purpose. Then it becomes easy. The planning phase is about 60%. And then the execution is about 30 to 40% of the equation.
Dr. Charles, in our remaining minutes with you, this has been absolutely fascinating. I'm thinking about a lot of our fellow Americans who have been suddenly fired, suddenly let go, people who are leaders in diversity, equity, and inclusion, folks who are federal workers, folks who whose jobs are maybe becoming obsolete because of advances in technologies like AI. How can they tap into the MEQ instrument, your MEQ assessment, as folks are sort of planning for their next chapter? Where can they go to tap in, and how high should they put this MEQ assessment on their priority list?
I think it's essential. At the end of the day, it's all about you. It's about your well-being. You have to pivot, shift, and change for you to survive. That's something I learned very early. So you go to www.drsabinecharles.com, and there you'll have there's a 15-minute free consultation. We'll talk about your goals, and then you get enrolled into this self-paced program with a coach, of an emotional intelligent coach. You take a survey. So it's based on data. So not only it's on you to complete the materials, you also have accountability by having a professional coach who is an expert in EQ, who will help you guide and develop. And then they'll give you that clarity. You gotta bob and weave. This is about life. And steady Eddie is not the way to go. Because I'm from the West Indies, so 3 jobs, that's okay. Because you know what? That I used to be like, why are they always having like so many jobs? It's because if one doesn't work out, and this may be a blessing, because now this is your opportunity to start your own business. This is where we need your voice, your help, your assistance. We need this because we are going through times that maybe going back, maybe going forward somehow for some, but it's a time that we need to make sure that people are ready and able to be the best they can in the environment that we're in.
That's right.
And that community is key.
Community is key. I mean, you over here, preaching the gospel of a more perfect union. We say this at every show. We end every show reminding people to do what they can from where they are with what they have. And one of the things that people can control, one of the things that folks can do is take the time to plan for your future. I know that there are a lot of competing priorities that people have, a lot of obligations that they have, and we get that. Right. But one of those priorities should be, really sort of planning your future in the affirmative, right? Affirming what it is that you want to usher into your career life, into your personal life, into your well-being, as opposed to, giving into the anxiety, really acting out of sense of scarcity in terms of, oh my goodness, if I don't get something now, then I may not have anything. And so I want to encourage our leaders, learners, and listeners to check out drsabincharles.com. Go there and get your 15-minute free consultation and do your MEQ assessment. And you might be surprised. You might be surprised what you learn.
And that's what it is. You have to learn about yourself and understand where you're coming from before you can move.
That's right. That's right. Well, Dr. Sabine Charles, we definitely want to have you back on the show to, again, be a resource to so many of our fellow Americans that may have sort of prematurely found themselves in the workforce. They have prematurely found themselves in this swirl they didn't expect to be in 2025. And we want to remind them they're not in it alone, that we're all in it together, and there's support and resources, in which case your MEQ assessment is one of them.
And I want to thank you because of your show. That's the communication that we need. That's the community that we need at the end of the day, by bringing people on board, talking about issues. Because I was listening to some of your past, even to earlier today, the one that you had on, just to listen, and it gives you motivation. It makes you be more aware that you're not alone. And by having these conversations, sharing with the audience resources that they could tap into so that they could become better. That's what community is all about. It's one person may have an instrument playing the flute, someone's playing the drum, but together there's harmony.
That's right.
And that's what it is.
Our thanks to Dr. Sabine Charles. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Fatherhood includes being present during pregnancy and beyond, supporting your partner, advocating for your baby, and ensuring a healthy birth. Black fathers play a key role in reducing maternal and infant health disparities, and your involvement starts during pregnancy. Join the free AIM Fatherhood Program today and learn how to support your partner, advocate for your baby's health, and connect with other fathers committed to healthier births. Visit blackinfantsandfamilies.org/fatherhood to get started.
Looking for a smart way to grow your savings and support your community? City First Bank's 3-month mission-driven CD offers 4% APY, giving you a strong return while backing businesses and communities that need it most. You will earn more and make a difference. Grow your money with purpose. Open your 3-month CD today by visiting cityfirstbank.com or visiting your local branch. City First Bank, banking with purpose, investing in community. Member FDIC, rates subject to change, terms apply. Visit cityfirstbank.com for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-511-2112. That's 800-511-2112. 800-511-2112.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. In our remaining minutes, I want to take some time out to recognize Sylvester Turner, who was sworn in as a U.S. representative in January. He has died at the age of 70. I'm talking about the former mayor of Houston, Texas, who was sworn in to the House of Representatives in January. He was 70. He had been in attendance at President Trump's speech on Capitol Hill on Tuesday night. His press secretary, Gregory Carter, said that Mr. Turner had been taken to the hospital after the speech and then returned home where he died. He said the cause had not been determined. Mr. Turner, a Democrat, was a veteran of Texas politics. He served in the state legislature from 1989 to 2016 when he became mayor of Houston. He served 2 terms before leaving office in January 2024. You all might remember that a few months later, he entered a special election to fill the congressional seat left empty by the death of Representative Sheila Jackson Lee in July. And he won. He was sworn in on January 3rd. The son of a painter and a housekeeper at a hotel. He graduated as valedictorian from his high school. He received a bachelor's in political science from the University of Houston and a law degree from Harvard in 1980. It's worth noting that Mr. Turner, having been in Congress for only 2 months, didn't have much time to establish his presence or a legislative record, but his first bill introduced last month was to provide on-the-job cybersecurity training in federal offices. And ahead of the president's speech, Mr. Turner spoke to reporters with his guest for the evening, Angela Hernandez, a Houston mother who relies on Medicaid to care for her child who has special needs. He wrote on his Instagram account, "My message to the current administration for tonight's State of the Union, don't mess with Medicaid." We hope that Representative Turner's wish comes true. We're going to have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our show producers, Faraji and Kim and Art, and our sound engineer, Andy, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Benefits schools. In Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore's 2026 supplemental budget adds $360 million and cuts $117 million. It includes $300 million for development